what's up, social studies team? I wanted to just really quickly run you through the template that you'll be using for your data analysis today. You'll see that you can find it linked here in the main agenda under the data day resources, middle school, social studies DBQ, quarter one data analysis template. So that's right here. You're going to want to definitely have this standards analysis dashboard pulled up while you're working through it. It's got pretty much all of the answers. I've already got it actually uploaded on a different page, so I'm going to close that one. I'll pull it over in a moment when it's relevant. But you'll kick off here with high-level analysis. So you're going to look at your social studies DBQ overall average, your performance, kind of above threshold, XYZ. That follows very nicely the template, which I'm going to pull in over here. So I've got 7th grade DBQ pulled up, and you can see here at the top that, like, for your own kiddos, you can see your own overall performance and averages. If you're an 8th grade teacher, this is a little bit less useful. See the other video that I made, but you can still find that information on the main IA dashboard. So if you need help with that, I'm happy to help you figure it out and pull it up. So you just kick off there, get your MLL and student disability performance in there if you teach MLL kiddos. And I think it's relevant here to write a short, just like reflection. You've spent so much time with these DBQs. I honestly, this is just a chance for you to communicate to me like what you've seen and what you're thinking about. All of you have copious thoughts on this, and this is really just like a memo more to me as I read through your work, so I can kind of understand any context you haven't had an opportunity to speak directly to me out loud. So just as a heads up. High-level rubric analysis, your template's pretty simple, which I actually kind of appreciate. You've got your component over here, which I'm not sure why that wasn't already pre-filled since it's the same for everybody. But then there's the data type, how did students do, MLL, and student disability performance. And again, what trends did you notice here? Because your template's pretty simple, I'm going to ask that you truly do fill out some thoughts on each of these. Prioritize the focus rubric rows that you're going to zoom in on, but you find that data, you can find it for the entire grade level down here. So if you're a teaching partner, want to work on that, or if you're somebody who teaches across 2 different grade levels and maybe just need to zoom in on one, you can kind of lean on your partner to help you fill in the other one. So this might be an area where it makes sense for like 1 per grade level instead of 1 per teacher. Just make sure you're really collaborating on this and you understand the data for every grade level and subject area that you teach. I think that matters a lot. So utilize that, fill this data in. It's kind of a copy pasting so far. But what I really am really looking for and looking at, because I've had a chance to look at the data itself, but I haven't had a chance to talk to all of you, especially with debriefs and observations being this week. Like, all of our meetings are ending up being about your observations and whenever we have them. So this is my chance to get a sense of what the heck is going on with the DBQs. So please let me know, an example of a piece of information that would be helpful for me around organization. I want to know how thesis statements are looking. Are students utilizing some of the portable language that they learned, from your class, if you're utilizing on a daily basis, from constructing meaning and transitions? How's that coming through? Do you have any needs or strengths around contextualization? Try to just clarify and lay out for me what's going on, and I do promise to spend some significant time reading through that. It is really meaningful to me. Next, it says prioritize 3 to 4 rubric rows. Pick 3, not 4. And I want you to use the guiding questions above. So if you've done these first portions pretty well, you should be able to probably just copy paste some of your thinking into these boxes here. This is just like the funnel as you narrow down. High leverage, misconceptions. Again, you're picking the same 3 rubric rows here. And then I want you to think about, pick one set of students to analyze. For this, you're going to need to have your actual DBQ copies in front of you. This is a chance to get into the student work itself and just refresh your mind on what kiddos were doing. You can pick a specific group. I personally think that MLL students have been the core focus of our school. It's what we're trying to work on as a group, and then you're the constructing meaning team. So MLLs continue to be really present in your partnerships and your work every day, probably more than anyone else in the building. It's lives with you as a priority. So, maybe pick MLLs. I think the backups, if you feel like it, would be students with disabilities. or potentially your PB2s are always useful because those are kind of the kids that are typically on the cusp of proficiency, but I would stick with MLs here. And then just dive into like list out for me a couple of misconceptions, things that they're doing repeatedly, like incorrectly, or that just traps, pitfalls they're falling into. If the more you can find specific examples, the better. So instead of saying like students not following organizational structure, if you can actually like snip or like retype like some examples of writing that kids are doing, that's really, really helpful for our conversations and for like your own planning and thinking. So wherever you have time and opportunities to do that, even if you're just zooming in more on one row and focusing on that like with most of your time and doing that really well, I think that that's great. What's cool about this is that your rubric doesn't shift and change. For like the writing teachers, their rubric is different for each essay because their essay types continue to shift. So they have to like think about how to make some of the skills portable for different, fiction, nonfiction type of things. For you, your stuff's pretty straightforward, and this ends up being like such a big part of the ELA CMAS, to be honest. Kids end up writing quite a few of these DBQ style essays, so it matters a lot. Contextualization from my conversations with Sariana and a few others seems to be like one of the biggest things that we're working on 6-8 every year. So that might be a good one to zoom in on and think about. And then, when you're reteaching, it's like, how are you applying this to your next text moving forward? I think there's a really easy trap to fall into and think about reteach as something you do one time, one day. Oh, we're going to interrupt the unit. We're going to reteach contextualization. I don't think that that's a good way to think about the problem. You would have to have some sort of like glaring data point there to do that. And I don't think that that's a smart move. If you need to do something like that, I would think about doing it in mandatory tutoring or space like that. I wouldn't interrupt your unit as it is. Instead, I would say, okay, we're reading the next text. I'm thinking about like the Mayflower Compact, which I had read in Leva's class. That's what they were focusing on when I did my observation there. And thinking about like, let's say that was an upcoming text. How would we intentionally build in like annotation structures in particular? Maybe I could print that out and I could do a think aloud, really maybe pretty similar actually to the example video that was in the like think aloud model in the agenda. I would recommend social studies team that you all watch that because I thought it was from a history class. So it was pretty good. How can you teach a prompt? How can you teach a think aloud to help students like do this skill at a higher level on the next text you're going to read? So that's why I push you to do that. And then again, if you've done this previous segment well and you've written your reteach objectives, copy paste them in here. Don't write anything new. What does that look like? And it could be the objective you have coming up. You might not even be reading a new one or working on a new one. Just where are you building the skill into that objective? What is your plan to like assess it? How are you going to figure out if kids are doing this well? I think for me, that's like the most interesting part here. Maybe you take the next mastery check and you zoom it in on contextualization or one of the rubric rows, and you're only grading the mastery check on that one row, or something of the sort. So think about your assessment plan, how you're going to assess it, when you're going to assess it. And the last thing I wanted to note was like student groups. I had a conversation with Jessica Strother about this the other day, but like in a lot of our social studies classrooms, we have 2 teachers, and that's an incredible opportunity. So yes, it's important that like Jessica and Chelsea are teaching their portion of class, that they're contributing, that they're giving like a second lens for like how language and ideas are playing out. That's wildly valuable. And they're both really skilled teachers who have the capacity to take smaller groups of kiddos and work with them more intentionally on a skill. So like get those kids into a separate space, have them work on a narrower part of class, get deeper and better. I think, there's some stuff that is going to be like whole group trends, but there's some things that your PB4s are nailing, and you're going to really belabor the point with them if you're like, all right, everybody, we're doing this thing again that you all got a perfect score on the rubric on. Like maybe that's not a great use of their time, and think about where you can utilize, your secondary teacher, or where you can release your, students who have mastered maybe some of these skills to go apply them with a higher level or secondary text in the back of the room or in a small group by themselves, because they can be pretty independent, where you are just pulling 5, 10, 12 kids to the front and you are doing a small mini lesson where you're getting deep and narrow on something hard. And I think that that's where the magic really comes into play here. So that's the end of your template. don't work on this longer than the work time you have, but really try to make something meaningful of it and prioritize this last box, because I just think this really matters the most. Please share this with me. I'm going to read your work carefully. I'm really prioritizing social studies team here because this is a set of assessments I want to understand better, and I want to get a better picture of where you're at in your room. So thank you.